Jazakallah khair for this lengthy introduction. I ask Allah Azza wa Jal to make us among those whom He accepts on the Day of Judgment. Our positions and titles in this dunya, they don't matter. We don't take them with us to the grave. It's only the good deeds and is what Allah Azza wa Jal accepts from us. Jazakallah khair for the introduction. May Allah reward you. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين سيدنا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد اللهم اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي أما بعد جزاكم الله خير. The reason that I'm here tonight is really for selfish reasons, to be inspired by you, to learn from you, and I'll be sure that I limit my speech so that I can learn more from you. Anytime, any opportunity that I get to visit with a group of believers who only meet for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal, to learn, to inspire change, to think about their mission in life and why Allah Azza wa Jal created us, I get inspired. And when I was told that this is a group of young people, and I see many young people, mashallah, on this side, especially the second row, our definition of young is as long as you're under 95 years old. So why the topic of tonight? To keep the discussion concise, I'll focus on two topics tonight. The first one is understanding the mission of Islam, and the second one, citizenship and justice. For those who prefer in Arabic, I'm going to speak tonight in English, but to keep track of the discussion in Arabic, tonight the conversation, كلام الليلة أو حديث الليلة إن شاء الله, على رؤية الإسلام لموضوع المواطنة. رؤية الإسلام التأصيل الشرعي لموضوع المواطنة في حياة المسلم والتركيز على دور القيادة والرؤية والمشروع. قيادة، رؤية ومشروع. فإن شاء الله نتكلم عن هذا. يعني في النهاية إذا كان هناك يعني حاجة لترجمة في النهاية أنا ممكن أساعد إن شاء الله، ولكن أردت التركيز الليلة بالإنجليزي على أساس أنه معظم الحضور من اليوث والشباب فلعلهم إن شاء الله يستفيدوا. So the discussion for tonight is, the first part is the alignment between us as humans and our goals in life. I want this to be a little bit interactive. So if I ask any of you, and this is a question to the audience, what brings happiness to you? Feel free to raise your hand and answer the question. What brings happiness to you? How do you define happiness? So you get, when you see others happy, you feel happy. Great. What else? With what? You're satisfied with?
Everything in your life, your family affairs, the first thing is to be satisfied with who you are as a Muslim.
Jazakallah khair. Jazakallah khair. What else? Muhammad? The people around you. So the loved ones, friends, relatives, and so on, correct? So yes, Jazakallah khair. MashaAllah. You become happy when you make somebody else happy. Jazakallah khair. MashaAllah. So doing the good deeds makes you happy. So there are people who are really rich, and they have the best of degrees from highest educational institutions. And they have mansions and cars, and their kids are grown, and they live in peace and safety. But many of them are empty on the inside. So where's the contradiction when you're rich and you have things in your hands in this life, but you're not happy? What's wrong with that picture? What is missing? Iman. What does Iman do to you? If I have money, I don't need Iman. I'll be happy. Why Iman? Puts it all together. Good conscience. Jazakallah khair. Jazakallah. Jazakallah khair. Jazakallah khair. Perp, may Allah. Allah yaftah alayk. Missing purpose. What else? And this is critical for our young people because I wish I had someone who taught me or told me something when I was younger to understand life. So I hope tonight is not a lecture. Tonight is not just someone visiting talking. I hope you capture a couple of lessons that will unlock your potential. So listen to this. You have access to everything in life and you're not happy. You need something to put it together. Something that brings everything together. So it starts with understanding what makes you happy. And I'll give you an example, analogy. iPhone 7 just came out, correct? Correct? If you give iPhone 7, or if you give a piece of jewelry, precious, expensive piece of jewelry, to a toddler, or younger than a toddler, what do you expect they would do with it? Toss it in the toilet, chew on it. If it's not edible, throw it, correct? That's what kids do. Why? Why do they do that? With a precious piece of jewelry or a tool like an iPhone, or why they do that? They don't know why to use it, correct? So they don't know what comes with the phone, the tools. You can't do social media, you can't do texting, you can't do voicemail, you can't do everything that you normally do with a phone. They don't understand the device. But if you give the same device to someone who recognizes what that device is for, they develop a deeper appreciation of that device. And the more that you learn about that device, the intent of the designer of the phone, the more that you can leverage it and use it for your own purposes. Now you can do all kinds of things with that device. Apply this analogy to life. Allah Azza wa Jal, the Creator, has given us a device that He calls life. And it comes with a manual. If you don't use the manual, it's like the toddler with the iPhone. You throw it away because you don't understand the wealth and the richness of that life, the wisdom of that life, the goal of that life, the purpose of that life. So life becomes insignificant, worthless. So what do you do when you don't understand what life is about? We start seeking happiness elsewhere. Let me buy the next thing that makes me happy for 2 more weeks. Let me buy a car that makes me happy for next 6 months. Go from one house to a bigger house. Let me do something different. Let me get the next promotion. So every time you seek a different level of happiness, you get bored. And you go to the next. And you get bored. And you go to the next. Until it reaches a point when we are older, we recognize, what did I waste my life doing? So the Quran and the Sunnah comes to teach us that Allah Azza wa Jal had an intent for life. The more you deviate from that life, the less happy you will be. The more you deviate from that mission, the less happy you will be. And no matter where you try to find happiness, the more that you go, the more that the gap grows between what Allah Azza wa Jal wanted you to live and how to live, and you try to find that happiness somewhere else, you'll never find it, no matter how much you try. You can pretend, you can show it, but you will not be happy. So I start tonight's talk about happiness to talk about the purpose of life, because without it, if we don't agree from the beginning that there's Allah Azza wa Jal, our Lord, who created the earth and the heavens for a reason, and He created us for a reason. And until we understand our mission on earth, we will never be happy. Never. We can spin wheels and live day in, day out without understanding why we live here, for what purpose. We can get caught into the day-to-day things, whether it's school or work or and we lose purpose. So the question to you, what does Allah Azza wa Jal wants from us? And this is an open question. Jazakallah khair. Translation that Allah Azza wa Jal teaches us in the Quran that I have not created the jinn and the ins, humans and the jinn, except for one purpose, to worship, correct? What else? I think you want to say something.
Worshiping us is in the essence of serving our own interest. We worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala so we can serve our own interest as an individual. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not need us to serve him, to worship him. I mean, he wants us to worship him, but he doesn't need anything from us.
Correct.
So the intense meaning of it is actually to serve our interest in life.
To serve our interest in life. What else?
معظم الآيات القرآنية والذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات. What we need from us to do two things: إيمان and عمل الصالحات.
So you believe and you do work, correct?
Good deeds.
Good deeds. What else?
I think he wants us also to serve others and help others and to inhabit the earth and نعمر هذه الأرض.
Jazakallah khair. So we learn from the story of Adam alayhi salam when Allah Azza wa Jal said that he with قال ربك للملائكة إني جاعل في الأرض خليفة. I'm sending Khalifa to earth. Why? What is the concept of Khalifa? It's not just that one person, but the concept. It's to govern earth, correct? To govern earth. So you're sending people, they are living on earth, but someone, not just one person, but a group of people have to be conscious and govern earth. Why? Why do we have to govern earth? It encompasses everything that you talked about. What happens if we don't govern? Wars. So there's no order. So what happens if there's no order? What happens? Chaos. And what happens when there's chaos? Injustice. Jazakallah khair. Beautiful word. Not the meaning of it, but beautiful answer. Injustice. So let's dive a little bit in the Quran and the Sunnah to find that mission. Allah Azza wa Jal tells us, first, before anything, that there is a call. Allah Azza wa Jal calls upon each one of us every single day, every second of the day. In Surah Al-Anfal, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, يا أيها الذين آمنوا استجيبوا لله وللرسول إذا دعاكم لما يحييكم واعلموا أن الله يحول بين المرء وقلبه وأنه إليه تحشرون. O who you believe, answer and pay attention to the word استجيبوا. Answer the call. So someone is calling you. Someone is sending you a message. استجيبوا لله وللرسول إذا دعاكم لما يحييكم. The translation, answer the call of Allah Azza wa Jal and His Messenger when He calls you to what brings you to life. So hold on a second. Wasn't that verse sent to people who are alive to read it in the first place? To those who breathe and eat and walk on earth? So if that's the case, then why does He tell us إِذَا دَعَاكُمْ لِمَا يُحْيِيكُمْ? If He calls you to what brings you back to life. What does that mean? Real life.
Not the one we see it in the physical sense, but what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants that life that He wants us to accomplish beyond the things that
Jazakallah khair. Allah yaftah alayk. Allah yaftah alayk. Excellent. So my young brothers and sisters, pay attention. By default, we are dead. Even when we breathe and eat, that's not the meaning of life. It's a metaphorical expression. It's not that you're dead, that you're 6 feet under. You're dead if your heart is not connected with a mission. And the only mission is the mission that Allah Azza wa Jal has sent to us. That's it. So by default, if we spend our life spinning wheels, just work, collect money, do this and that, we're just spinning wheels, wasting time. This is not to be misunderstood that we should not pursue these things. Islam wants us to live decent lives. Islam wants us to be financially stable. But the idea, there's a purpose, a core in your life, and everything else revolves around it. Istajibu. Interestingly, we find the word answer in different places in the Quran. In Surah Al Imran, Allah Azza wa Jal describes a group of people who answer the call after being tested. الذين استجابوا لله والرسول من بعد ما أصابهم القرح للذين أحسنوا منهم واتقوا أجر عظيم. Those who are tested, they answered the call even at the time when they were severely tested. So not only at the time of ease, but even at the time of hardship. We find it in different places in Surah Al Imran and Surah Al Nisa and Surah Al Ma'idah in different formats. In Surah Al Imran, الذين قال لهم الناس إن الناس قد جمعوا لكم فاخشوهم فزادهم إيمانا وقالوا حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل. Subhanallah, the previous verse talks about they were tested. But not only they responded to Allah when they were severely tested, their people doubted them. The following verse comes to tell you, الَّذِينَ قَالَ لَهُمُ النَّاسِ, after you were tested, people, your loved ones, your parents, your community, people who are spinning wheels in life, comes to you and they tell you, what is this business that you call iman and da'wah and reform, and let it go, leave it, let it go, it's not your business. Live an easy life, take the easy way. الَّذِينَ قَالَ لَهُمُ النَّاسُ إِنَّ النَّاسَ قَدْ جَمَعُوا لَكُمْ فَاخْشَوْهُمْ. Be afraid, just do your work and stay away from da'wah and Islam. And so what was their response? قالوا حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل. فزادهم إيمانا وقالوا حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل. They increased their faith and they depended on the only one, Allah Azza wa Jal. The concept that there is a call every single second of the day. What you eat, what you drink, who do you associate with, what job you apply for, what course you take in school. Every action you do, you have one of two choices. You align with the mission of Islam, or you choose a different path. Either the path that Allah approved or a different path. So there's a call, and you are obligated to respond one way or another. So moving to the next point of responding to Allah. So I either respond in adherence and full submission to Allah Azza wa Jal, or I don't. So we read in Surah An-Nisa something interesting. Allah Azza wa Jal tells us, Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu, O who you believe, كونوا قوامين بالقسط شهداء لله ولو على أنفسكم أو الوالدين والأقربين إن يكن غنيا أو فقيرا فالله أولى بهما فلا تتبعوا الهوى أن تعدلوا. O who you believe, stand firm for justice, because you will testify in front of Allah Azza wa Jal. Pay attention, justice. Remember the whole discussion at the beginning. You don't align with Allah, chaos happens on earth, we deviate, we're not happy, and injustice prevails. But if I align with Allah Azza wa Jal, my mission, my life, I'm submitting to Allah, living for a purpose, I'm happy, even at the time when I'm being tested severely. But there's a mission. So Allah tells you that you may commit, or you might commit injustice against yourself by not taking care of your body, of your heart, of your mind. Every time you commit a sin, every time you deviate from the path of Allah, you're committing aggression against your own self, because you're limiting your potential. You're pushing yourself downwards. And not only you, but even your parents and even your loved ones. That verse didn't call for you to go disrespect your parents, even if they are non-Muslims, or even if they don't believe in Allah Azza wa Jal. But what it calls for, standing firm for justice. You don't compromise. We move to Surah Al-Ma'idah, and that word justice comes in a stronger format, in a stronger persuasive way, directed to Muslims. Allah Azza wa Jal tells us in Surah Al-Ma'idah, يا أيها الذين آمنوا كونوا قوامين لله شهداء بالقسط ولا يجرمنكم شنآن قوم على ألا تعدلوا اعدلوا هو أقرب للتقوى. O who you believe, stand firm for justice because you will testify in front of Allah Azza wa Jal. ولا يجرمنكم شنآن قوم على ألا تعدلوا. Do not let the hatred of any human being deviate you from committing to justice. So someone hates you, your first reaction, you want to revenge, you want to retaliate, you want to push back, you want to make the point that you are the better person. So what Allah Azza wa Jal tells you in the Quran, وَلَا يَجْرِمَنَّكُمْ شَنَآنُ قَوْمٍ عَلَىٰ أَلَّا تَعْدِلُوا. Do not let the hatred of someone makes you deviate from committing to justice. And then the next word is very interesting. He doesn't say, I recommend for you to follow justice. It comes in the form of a command. It's not a choice, it's a command. اعدلوا. If you truly want to seek justice or you want to be a pious person, righteous person, then you must advance the cause of justice. Because Allah Azza wa said, اعدلوا هو أقرب للتقوى. That's the closest you can get to righteousness. So far what we talked about, happiness is with alignment with Allah Azza wa Jal. Once you align with Allah, there's a mission, and that mission is a mission of justice. You govern to reform, islah, mashru' islah. It's a project to reform earth. There's a hadith Qudsi. Who knows the hadith, or at least the first line of a hadith Qudsi, that Allah Azza wa Jal talks in it about justice? Jazakallah khair. There's one that I'm specifically looking for. يا عبادي إني حرمت الظلم على نفسي وجعلته بينكم محرما فلا تظالموا. Allah Azza wa Jal, when did you read or where did you read in the Quran or anywhere that Allah Azza wa Jal has prohibited something on himself? It is injustice. Allah Azza wa Jal, who does not need to tell us what he prohibits on himself, told us in the hadith that I made it forbidden for myself to commit aggression. Inni haramtu dhulm. And who was he talking to? Ya ibadi, my slaves. Inni haramtu dhulma ala nafsi. I prohibited myself for committing injustice. And I made it haram among yourselves. فَلَا تَظَالَمُوا. After Jum'ah, when the khutbah finished their khutbahs, how do they normally end with a verse? One of the verses that they conclude their khutbahs with as they make dua, إِنَّ اللَّهَ يَأْمُرُ بِالْعَدْلِ وَالْإِحْسَانِ وَإِيتَاءِ ذِي الْقُرْبَى وَيَنْهَى عَنِ الْفَحْشَاءِ وَالْمُنْكَرِ وَالْبَغْيِ يَعِظُكُمْ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَذَكَّرُونَ. Translation. Inna Allah. What does Allah want? Those who recited the verse. What is the meaning of the word ya'mur? Command. Allah Azza wa Jal commands. He didn't say I make it optional. Inna Allah ya'muru bil adli. First thing. Inna Allah ya'mur bil adl. He commands justice. Pay attention. What comes after adl? What was the second word? Wal-ihsan. What is ihsan? In the hadith of Jibreel alayhi salam. When he was teaching the Prophet ﷺ, he told him, Al-ihsan, أن تعبد الله كأنك تراه فإن لم تكن تراه فإنه يراك. That you worship Allah Azza wa Jal as if you see Him. If you see Him, you'll be conscious, you'll be on the straight path. فإن لم تكن تراه, if you can't see Him, then know that He sees you every second of the day. a high level of consciousness. You're aware. Your heart is alive every second of the day. Your heart is responding to the call. It's pinging, responding. إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى. And إيتاء ذي القربى, taking care of those relatives and loved ones and those who you associate with. And if we don't understand that part of the equation, to make it more clear, in the second part of the verse, وَيَنْهَى, He prohibits us عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. He prohibits you from different forms of injustice, whether it's committing the munkar or aggression against somebody else. Islam is the mission of justice, pure and simple. There's a connection between us and Allah Azza wa Jal. That connection is to help us understand, why do I live? What is my mission on earth? And the only way you can understand this big picture is by understanding why Allah created earth and why He created you. Once we understand that, then it reflects into two dimensions. The first, once you understand your role, you have to take care of yourself. Because the first one that you change is you. You have no control over the world, but you have control over who you are. And no one can help you reach your potential except you. And after you reform who you are, because if I'm corrupt, if I'm not a good person, if my character is not good, how can I carry a divine mission? How can I carry the best of ideals of justice if I'm corrupt by being unjust to myself, unjust to everybody else? And then moving forward, then I can treat everybody else with justice. We're running short on time, 10 minutes. So that first piece is critical to understand, and it ties into the concept of citizenship. So if my role on earth is to govern, let's talk about a few quick examples. How does that translate? So now I understand my mission. I understand what makes me happy. I understand that my mission in Islam is justice. I understand that I live on earth to make it a better place for everybody else. And I understand that the Quran was not sent only to Muslims. It was sent to humanity. And we know that Allah Azza wa Jal did not create. If the Quran was just sent to Muslims, then there's no purpose for da'wah or for. We just have to teach ourselves, and that's the end of the story. But Allah Azza wa Jal have created us from different tribes and different nations to know one another, to teach one another, to help one another. The scholars of Islam, when they studied Islamic legislation, when you hear about the fiqh, the fatwa, the legislation in Islam, they summarized the objectives of Islam, maqasid al-sharia. The objectives, what is this religion trying to achieve? When they analyzed everything that Islam looks at, that Islam regulates, to help us just on a very high conceptual level, they divided Islam, not to divide it in silos, but to us to understand the body of knowledge of Islam, into aqeedah, to understand aqeedah, and you tend not to find Muslims disputing about our understanding of aqeedah. And then a second branch of body of knowledge of Islam, which is at-tazkiyah, al-akhlaq, morals and ethics. And you tend not to find any disputes about that region or about that body of knowledge. But the third category is al-sharia, legislation. And under sharia, they divided into two branches. One they called al-mu'amalat and one al-ibadat, transactions and acts of worship. Acts of worship, salah, zakah, hajj, siyam, and so on. Mu'amalat are societal transactions, not just financial, any transaction between any human being. That piece, that branch of sharia that deals with human relations is so rich, so broad, that Muslims for centuries have neglected. And for tonight's topic, because of the limitation of time, I'm going to focus on one point in that body of knowledge, which is citizenship. Many of us came to this country as immigrants. Our kids, most of them are not. They were born here. But yet, in our houses, we teach them that you're Palestinian, you're Syrian, you came from somewhere else. Across the nation, over the last 15 years, what I've seen from masjid to masjid, from community to community, is a dual identity, dual problem. A child lives in the masjid, in the house, being a Muslim, but they go out and then they are American. And we created that dichotomy, that differentiation, that Muslim contradicts with Muslim, with American. So I wanted to share with you a few thoughts from the life of the Prophet ﷺ to help reconcile this understanding that there's no contradiction of being a Muslim with anything else, any nationality on earth. In Medina, when the Prophet ﷺ went to Medina, he drafted a constitution. How many of you ever heard about the Medina Constitution? وثيقة المدينة or صحيفة المدينة. What is صحيفة المدينة? Do you know? May Allah reward you. Excellent. And what is the beauty of that constitution? Did it dictate that Muslims rule and dictate on everyone, whether they're Muslim, Christians, Jews? It dictated and it forced everyone to follow Islam, correct? Did it or did it not? Why? That's the messenger of Allah Azza wa Jal. The messenger of Allah not dictating to people to follow Allah. What is your understanding of that? When the 47 amendments of the Constitution starts with Al-Yahudu Ummah wal-Muslimuna Ummah. The Jewish community is one ummah, one group of people, wal-Muslimuna. What was that differentiation of identity needed for? It was not necessarily the language, it was something deeper. Tolerance, Jazakallah khair. Does Islam compel people to believe in Allah Azza wa Jal, those who are not Muslims? Correct? Does not. So the Prophet ﷺ created political citizenship. Hawiyya Madaniyya. Political citizenship. That as long as you live in this geography, regardless of your religion, if you worship the idols, if you worship whoever, you have roles and responsibilities. You have duties to do. We will protect you. Muslims will protect the Jewish community and everybody else if you're attacked. And your role is to protect us if we're attacked. That's the messenger of Allah Azza wa Jalla drafting this with his community. Muslims were minority, but they were leading. They were the minority in terms of numbers. Think about us here in the United States as a minority. Numbers is not the factor in leadership. Not only he created the constitution or drafted the constitution, he gave everyone their rights. Did he obligate any non-Muslim to come to Muslims for judgment? للحكم? He said the reason he separated between different communities, not to discriminate, but to say, if you're Jewish, you don't come to Muslims to seek judgment. You go to your Jewish community. So it created a judicial system, a diverse judicial system in Medina in response to the diversity that existed in Medina. It was the same messenger, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, who cried when he left from Mecca and he said, والله إنك لأحب أرض الله إلي ولولا أن أهلك أخرجوني منك لما خرجت. By Allah, that you are the most beloved piece of land to my heart. And if it wasn't for your people who kicked me out, I would have not left. Yet, where did he die? Not Mecca. Not because he had the choice to stay alive. Allah made that choice to him. He could have said, oh Allah, keep me alive. I'm going to go die in my homeland. When he went to Medina, Al-Aws wal-Khazraj, two tribes, were killing themselves for decades over silly things. They were not Muslims. It was among the first things that he have done in Medina to bring reconciliation to them. Why? They were not Muslims. Let them kill themselves. Was this his attitude? No. Because a city that is not safe, a city that has more than 500 homicides in less than 10 months, is a city that have serious problem that it does not adhere to justice. So if Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was alive today, he wouldn't be sitting and praying in the masjid and going home at the end of the day. When little kids are raped, when schools provide poor education, when moms and dads are hallucinating on drugs and their kids are watching, when a criminal justice system is corrupt to the point that it targets minorities, but those who are rich and who have access to legal counsel, they can exit, they can be protected. When there are families who go to sleep every night with no food, when there are single parents struggling with 2 to 3 jobs every single day just to put food on the table, is that justice? When children take it to the next level, to global level, children drowning in oceans because they are seeking better lives after their country was torn into civil war because of injustice. Can I be a Muslim in good consciousness and sit and pray and pursue life and have a job and have a car and have good education and claim that life is good and I'm committed to Allah Azza wa Jal and I have my straight ticket to the Jannah? I'm good. I raised my kids. La wallah, by Allah, this is not Islam. I can't be a Muslim and tolerate that this earth is full of injustice. People say, I can't be American and Muslim at the same time. I'm Palestinian. I was born overseas. Regardless of what you think about the Palestinian Authority, many of them are corrupt. But I never denounced my citizenship that I was born there. I'm proud that I was born there. If you came from Syria or your parents came from Syria, because Bashar killed people, you don't say, I don't like to be Syrian. If you live in Saudi Arabia and they commit aggression as leaders, you don't say, I don't want to be a Saudi. And same thing here. If this country commits aggression, and it did, Dr. Martin Luther King challenged his government. When they went to war in Vietnam and they had poor foreign policy, he stood up and he said, I reserve the deepest place in hell for those who decide to be silent at the time when they need to speak the truth. So you can use the legal framework to oppose injustice. It will be hypocritical, it will be nifaq from our side to say it's okay for me to be any nationality and Muslim and it's okay, but when it comes to America, I can't be a Muslim because it's not the land of Muslims. It's the land of Allah Azza wa Jal. Tomorrow, if I live in Canada, I'll strive to be the best Canadian citizen. If the next day I go to Pakistan, I'll strive to be the best Pakistani citizen. If I go to China, I'll strive to be the best Chinese citizen. Because my understanding of Islam is not limited by the geography and the labels. It's defined by the mission to Allah Azza wa Jal. It's a mission of justice. Wherever I go, I hold that mission. The Prophet ﷺ never lived a life to say, I'm from Mecca. When the Muhajirin and the Ansar got into fights and called each other sometimes names, why did he bring unity among Muslims? Why? Why did he see a diverse community? He said, you truly must love one another. Why? Tell me why. Why do you think he did that? How can we govern if we're weak? And govern doesn't mean that you are head of government. Or the simplistic narrative that we need one Khalifa to govern the whole earth. The only time that model worked successfully was the time when the Prophet ﷺ was alive. Because he combined the understanding of the divine mission and the power that Allah Azza wa Jal gave him as a governor, as a leader. Everybody else, Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anhu was a righteous person, but he was a human. Umar radiallahu anhu was a righteous person. The last 2 khulafa were killed, assassinated because of politics. So the history of Islam is full of challenges. It helps us appreciate and understand. So I want to conclude by reminding you of why I'm here tonight. What is the message that I wanted to share with you? We talk about understanding Islam, and we tend to spend a lot of time in good conscience and sincerity trying to read the book of Hadith and to read the book of fiqh and how we do prayers, and all of that is mandated and must and needed. But my message to everyone, but especially our young brothers and sisters, never limit yourself. Never think that Islam wanted you to just stay behind 4 closed walls and just pray and go home. That's not, if Muhammad ﷺ was here today, he wouldn't be just praying and staying in this masjid or any other masjid. I can't imagine him trying to change a whole world, that he comes to this country and he sees the injustice that we're living through, and he will remain quiet. And I refuse to believe that our young generation that is tech savvy, that can navigate your way through college and through employments and internships, and you understand the universe, that you can't find a way to advance justice. Many people think, how can I by myself change the world? I can't change the world by myself. Well, it starts with you. It starts every day with a kind action of justice, compassion, love, justice, every day. You buy your Starbucks, pay for the person behind you. Learn compassion. You see a homeless person, feed a homeless person. Take time. There are volunteering programs. Go visit the jail. Go see what happens in our jails, mental health institutions. Go to schools where our kids, our Muslim kids go to. Maybe you're blessed in this community, you might have your own school. Others do not. And not every Muslim school offers Muslim education to raise our kids. Sometimes we isolate our youth. There's no contradiction between your citizenship of being born and raised in this country. Matter of fact, there's an Islamic obligation on every one of us to be the best citizens and lead, even though we are the minority in numbers. We should be the pioneers, the leaders in reforming this country and making it the best country on earth. That's our mission. I ask Allah Azza wa Jal to accept from all of us, to help us understand the concept of justice, to understand that citizenship goes beyond a piece of paper that we call ourselves citizens. It means that we live, we die, like Ibrahim alayhi salam said, قُلْ إِنَّ صَلَاتِي وَنُسُكِي وَمَحْيَايَ وَمَمَاتِي لِلَّهِ رَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ. My life, my death, my mission, everything in my life is submitted to Allah. Clear vision, clear mission. We never lose sight. If you're sick, if you're unhealthy, if you fail, if you get knocked, stand up, move on, be strong, be courageous, have a good fight. Never give up. May Allah reward you. Jazakumullah khairan.
Jazakallah khair, Sheikh Fadi. We're going to open the floor for questions and answers. Inshallah, we have like 10 minutes. So anybody have any question? Let me actually start with a question that came to my mind. Sheikh Fadi, subhanAllah, since you work in government, a lot of times as youth, we feel, a lot of youth feel ashamed of their religion, or they try to hide their identity. And a lot of non-Muslims say that Islam is non-compatible with Western civilization. So how do you approach that as a Muslim?
When I first came to the United States, I came from Palestine as a Palestinian. I came at the age of 19 by myself. My dad was not a rich man. I have 4 other siblings. Lived through a lot of struggles in Palestine and Palestine. And when I came here, I came with enough money to pay for my airline ticket only. But I came with the intention of getting education. I'll get to your question quickly. When I first came to the United States, I struggled with my identity. Lost, not sure where to go, and the only community that I saw was a small Palestinian community in New Orleans. But they were secluded. They closed the doors and they just prayed and went home, and that was the end of it. So I had no clue. I was a Muslim living with a different identity. The world that I came from, the country that I came from, was changing every day. Every day. In my mind, it paused because I left with a snapshot of the image of what it looked like. But it was changing so much, so I was stuck in two worlds. A world that I'm a Palestinian Muslim living in the United States, I'm going back home, but it was changing dramatically. So I'm not engaged here, and I'm not influencing overseas. Stuck in two worlds. It took a while to recognize that understanding of Islam, that I don't have to be stuck in that dilemma. My goal is to serve wherever I go. So after 9/11, I started seeing brothers shaving their beards, changing their names, sisters taking off their hijab. Like, what's going on? And it was more of a moment of truth to me that I stand for something. I should be proud of what I am. Long story short, I was so passionate about public policy, public safety, criminal justice, and so on. Studied, I wanted to be like my older brother. I got a bachelor's and master's in computer science to make money and go back home and take care of my family. But I wasn't happy. So I started struggling, and one day Allah Azza wa Jal tested my wife and kids who are here tonight with me. We went through Hurricane Katrina. We lost everything overnight. And we went to Houston, Texas, and we had to rebuild from scratch. That was a tipping point in my life that helped me understand my identity. I saw people coming to help us. I saw government, FEMA, as much as they did a horrible job back then, that there were nonprofit organizations, civil society, government is trying to help. Coming from a world full of injustice, working in New Orleans in a place that was the most unjust in the United States, where people killed one another over $5 and drugs and so on, to a point where I saw that millions of people, their lives were shattered, I decided to quit computer science and start learning about nonprofits and government. That journey, long story short, took me all the way from New Orleans to Houston to Indiana. And I had to rebuild my profession from computer science to nonprofit and public safety and public administration. Today, where I'm at, with the help of Allah Azza wa Jal, the city of Indianapolis, of 1 million people, know that their controller, second in command of the whole city, the 13th largest city in the United States, is a Muslim. No ifs, no buts. When the mayor stood up and he hired me, and he announced that he hired me, he said, I'm hiring a Muslim. Didn't have to compromise. Didn't have to say. When I was interviewing for the job, when he called me, he said, I want to hire you to serve this city. The first sentence that came out of my mouth when I met with him one-on-one, I said, I'm a Muslim and I was born overseas. Before I continue, if you have any problem, I'm happily employed somewhere else. I don't need this job. He said, I'm interested. Continue. Today, with the help of Allah, I don't share with you to brag. I share with you to tell you that I came with less than $2,000 in my pocket. I came, didn't have family members to take care of me, but Allah Azza wa Jal was there. Went through difficulties, and today I lead a city of 1 million people. If I was able to do it with the weaknesses and the limitations and as an immigrant, by Allah, look at you. Born and raised here, empowered with the intellect, the passion, understanding the country. I don't joke when I say, with your hijab, you can be the next mayor of this city. You can be the next governor of this state. You can be the next president of this country. And for a different session, we can talk about the fiqh of women ruling. That's a different story. But the bottom line, to answer your question, leadership, to lead who you are. This is very interesting. I know it's a long answer. But one of the most important lessons I've learned in my life, one of the most critical lessons that changed my entire life, is every time I met with someone, I had to adjust how I talk to you. I had to adjust how I look at you, how I smile, how I shake your hand, because I wanted to be approved by you. I want you to accept me. I wanted you to love me. And then I learned through professional education and through mentors and leadership executives, every time you change who you are, you build a layer of being inauthentic. Because that's why they talk about emotional intelligence, that you understand your emotions while you behave the way that you behave. So I started behaving differently. Why do I have to be approved by Brother Abdullah so that he can leave from here and say, Wallahi, we had a great person over here. So I'm going to be sure that I'm giving my best to him. You go home, you give your parents a different message, different image. You go to your friends, it's different. To your colleagues. So after a period of time, you build layers and layers and layers of inauthenticity to the point that you get far away from your core of what you believe in, to the point that you have no values, no principles that you stand for. So if you want to be Muslim, and you want to lead, and you want to be in government, or you want to lead in nonprofits, or want to be a professor, or you want to own your own business, the number one lesson is that you should never be shy of your identity. Every time you run away from your life story, you run away from who you are, is a time when you fail. You fail yourself. Be proud of who you are. Do not live to change, to control your image in someone else's mind. I want you to think about me as great. The moment you start thinking this way, you become inauthentic. You can't work for government. You can't stand for justice. You can't be authentic. You can never lead your life or anybody else. So I hope that was a very lengthy answer, but I hope that the point is received, that there's no contradiction between a Muslim and American. There's no contradiction to work for government. I highly recommend two things. One, I highly recommend reading two critical books. But before these two books, Dr. Jamal Badawi, may Allah be pleased with him, published, and I think you can find it on ISNA's website, he published a paper about understanding of the relationship between Muslims and non-Muslims. Beautiful piece of paper, about 5-6 pages, that outlines every major argument about Muslims working and living and having friends who are non-Muslims, working for government, to the point he even addresses a critical question. Can a Muslim serve in the army when the army is going overseas and killing Muslims? Very difficult question, correct? The answer is yes, you can. However, if it contradicts your religion, and you know that they're going to go kill someone else, whether it's Muslim or non-Muslim, may Allah reward you. Anyone that they're going to go and fight unjust, doesn't matter what their religion is, you should refuse. What happens if you refuse and you're in the army? What happens to you? Penalty. You go to jail for detention for a few weeks or dismissed, correct? Well, every day we pay price in our lives. We make decisions that we pay price for. Let it be the tax on your moral principle. Let it be. So you can even serve in the army, you can serve in the FBI, you can serve in government, and it's foreign to many of us, especially those who came as immigrants, to hear me say something like that. You can, but every employment you join, the moment it contradicts your belief in Allah, your belief in Islam, your principles, you have a choice. Quit, leave. So Dr. Jamal Badawi has a beautiful paper on this topic. May Allah be pleased with his soul. This book has changed my life. May Allah be pleased with Dr. Maher Hathout's soul. He passed away in pursuit of justice. Every argument about being a Muslim and American, about the Constitution, about the role of women in Islam, your role is not just the kitchen. You know that, correct? You know that, correct? Don't let any Muslim tell you that your role is just the kitchen. Because the Prophet ﷺ didn't tell Muslim women that their role is just, I'm not trying to pitch them against you guys. I have a wife and 2 kids, 2 daughters. I love them. Islam created equality between men and women. That's a different session. This second book is by Dr. Suhail Ghannouchi. He was the former president of Muslim American Society. Beautiful book, deep analysis about the vision and the project of Islam in America. He called it American Muslim Renaissance Project, مشروع النهضة الإسلامي الأمريكي. These 2 books are available publicly online. They changed my life. I really hope that you can have the chance to read them.
Jazakallah khair. Anybody has any question?
MashaAllah, Jazakallah khair. It was a nice lecture. The question that I have, can we separate Islam and the state? Religion and the state, in other words, or we have to implement, because the reason I ask that question is most of the time Muslims has failed to govern properly, especially in the recent government in Pakistan or England, or the Middle East, all that. Why did they suffer? The question is, why did we fail as a Muslim to govern?
Jazakallah khair. That can be, no, it's related. Jazakallah, it's related, but that really has been, hundreds of papers have been written, analyses, hundreds, if not thousands of hours have been debated. I'll touch only on one very high level point. Your understanding of the Mithaq al-Medina, the Constitution of Medina. The Prophet ﷺ did not govern with Islam. What does that mean? It's not that, la samahallah, I'm saying that he didn't believe in Islam or that he deviated, la wal-iyadhu billah. But he understood and he differentiated that when you govern a diverse group and you cannot compel them into believing in Islam, it was da'wah. You convey the message. And Allah taught the Prophet ﷺ, and he told even Muhammad ﷺ. And Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu narrates in a hadith explaining the verse in Surah Al-Baqarah, لا تهدي من أحببت ولكن الله يهدي من يشاء. He said, we were commanded by the Prophet ﷺ not to give our sadaqah to the non-Muslims. Not zakah, sadaqah. So the Quran came revealed to the Prophet ﷺ to teach his companions, إنك لن تهدي من أحببت ولكن الله يهدي من يشاء. You, O Muhammad, you do not have the ability to guide people. Your role to convey the message. And he followed up Allah Azza wa Jal with the verse, وَمَا تُنْفِقُوا, regarding the sadaqah, that he commanded Muslims not. وَمَا تُنْفِقُوا مِنْ خَيْرٍ فَلْيَنْفُسِكُمْ. Whatever you spend is for you. It's for your ajr with Allah Azza wa Jal. وَمَا تُنْفِقُونَ إِلَّا ابْتِغَاءَ وَجْهِ اللَّهِ. And whatever you do is because you're seeking Allah's pleasure. وَمَا تُنْفِقُوا مِنْ خَيْرٍ يُوَفَّ إِلَيْكُمْ وَأَنْتُمْ لَا تُظْلَمُونَ. And whatever you spend will be returned back to you on the day of judgment. The point being here said that where Muslims failed in governance is that they thought that governance means forcing people under the Sharia law or some kind of Islamic law. The model of the Prophet ﷺ, he separated the state from religion. The state was Medina. The constitution was about public safety and security. It was not about compulsion in religion. It defined the tribes. It defined who protects who. It defines judicial system. It defines a decision-making process for a community. It defined political citizenship, that everyone was equal, whether Muslim or non-Muslim. Everyone was equal. Now, within the Muslim community, that was a different story. So when you have someone in Syria, in Palestine, in Pakistan, in Iraq, there's a struggle over power just to control. That's one problem. Second, for those who aspire to lead with Islam, they mismanage by trying to push Islamic understanding on everyone without really thinking carefully about the concept of citizenship as understood by Islam. Doesn't mean that you can't lead and influence how the state functions based on morality and accepted norms through legislation, but it's a process. You don't fix society overnight.
He's going to suggest that this was based on the history of the United States. It was founded by the founding United States. Most of the founded country was religious. And they actually care about the religion. And they did have an intention to separate the state from religion. And the result of it is what we have now. It's a country that's better than anywhere else in the world.
Sure.
And everybody else kept their faith. And the country was safe. And the country was well established. So it remains a big question. If you want your religion, really, just like there is no compulsion in religion, let it be it. People will follow it because people will eventually see the truth.
Jazakallah. You're 100% right. A minor correction, most of the founding fathers were not religious. They read religion, they read the religious textbooks, but you are 100% right about what led to the creation of government, which basically was, why did people come from England? Because they were persecuted in England. So they came to the United States seeking religious freedom. So when they designed the Constitution and they agreed, they didn't want to create injustice because they just ran away from it from England. But till today, with all of the deficiencies in our country remains the best country on earth as it relates to governance. It has corruption on every level. And when it comes to foreign policy, it has corruption in foreign policy too. But every country does, so it becomes our role to fix it, because wherever we go, there's problems, and our job is to fix it. Excellent question. I'll give an example. Yusuf alayhi salam, he made dua in Surah Yusuf. قال رب اجعلني على خزائن الأرض. Oh Allah, make me the treasurer of the lands. Who was his boss? And Aziz was a righteous person, correct? Was Al-Aziz a righteous person? Was not. So why would a prophet want to work for someone who's corrupt? Why the Prophet ﷺ made da'wah in Mecca and the idols were still there? There are times in history where you can work from inside and you can work from outside. There's not one right answer that you always have to follow this path or that path. In the United States, Dr. King felt that he can challenge the system from outside, not from inside. By creating a movement of people and retaining his freedom to speak his mind. Because if you work maybe for government, you're afraid you're going to lose your job or whatever, so you're not going to speak your mind, or you lose from political perspective. So some of us can change from within, some of us should lead from outside. So it's a combined effort, but never just disengage. And it's an excellent question because many Muslim youth gave up. Many Muslim youth, when they saw that the world is full of corruption, they thought that their ticket to the Jannah is to go to overseas and join ISIS and get a ticket to the Jannah. That's what they thought. It was not a fix. They were misled, they deviated. So the point is, and here, we tend youth who engage in violence, they tend to go from extreme to an extreme because they're not living a balanced life. One day I'm so righteous, I'm going so deep in Islam, the next day I'm on drugs. That fluctuation going from one extreme to another is a result of inside instability. I'm lost. I need guidance. Sheikh, Google is not always correct. Googling a da'wah or a fatwa might mislead you for the rest of your life. So it becomes your role to do your research. This city has at least 100 imams. Do not ask 1 or 2 or 3, ask 5. Search, read. So I think that there are many opportunities. You have to change from within, from outside, in every system, even in the masjid, from within and from outside.
Jazakallah khair. I think we conclude the program, inshallah, for tonight. If we could have the sisters go outside and take their snacks first. Okay.
I haven't heard any question from the sisters. I want to be sure that I respect them.
2 minutes.
And I'm staying here tonight. I'm not going to Indiana till tomorrow. Sisters, do you have any questions?
What we could do, we could have the brothers take their snacks first. And maybe
That's injustice. I don't accept that.
hear questions from the sisters.
The sister should go eat first. Sisters, do you have any questions? Jazakumullah khair. May Allah reward you. Jazakumullah.
So can we have the sisters
Jazakumullah khairan. May Allah reward you.
get their snacks first, inshallah? And the brothers, if they want to leave, they could leave. They want to chill with the sheikh for 5 more minutes.
Let me prove this point. How many of the brothers brought any of the refreshments in the back?
Brought?
Yeah.
This is something we brought. We bring.
Who brought that stuff in the back?
We
Raise your hands. So it's not them? It's you?
It's the program.
But it's you?
The masjid provides it.
The masjid provides it?
Yeah.
Who prepared it? Sisters or brothers?
They buy it from.
I can't make my point.